Hello and welcome to another Monday Messages from me, Rebecca Atkinson. And today I just wanted to talk about self-regulation. It's something that is talked about a lot, certainly online. And it's a term that we may all be encouraged to aspire to be able to self-regulate. And I absolutely concur with that. And I've become aware recently that lots of people don't actually really understand what self-regulation is. And I wanted to offer the perspective, my perspective, that is that we all self-regulate all the time, all day, every day. We are self-regulating. We are engaging in behaviours, conversations, reactions that are largely bouncing off external or internal stimulus or triggers. And most of those self-regulation choices are subconscious or unconscious. They have been laid down years ago often, and they've worked for us on one level, and they may still be working for us in the understanding that they do offer a temporary feeling of being safe or feeling loved or feeling stimulated or feeling included or feeling right, feeling connected. Any of those things, basically. All our behaviour is driven by those kind of needs. And if things dysregulate us, if feelings come up in reaction to other people's behaviour or their speech or certain situations, then we will be automatically stimulated into behaviour or patterns of behaviour that has been laid down mostly years ago. It's automatic, it's knee-jerk. And it's when we start thinking about it, there's a pattern there. And there is a big difference between doing that unconsciously and getting ourselves into the situation or into the state where we can actually do it consciously, because then we are actually making real choices that are more appropriate and more fitting to who we are now and what we want from our lives. So I'm going to share with you an example which actually really fascinated me, because it's just an example of all kinds of different self-regulation and what happens when we become the witness to it, and we're fully conscious of what's going on, and we don't try and interfere with it in some way, in others I'm talking about. So I was in a family situation quite recently, lots of people around, and there was a family member who was clearly in a very volatile state, something which is a pattern for this person, and there are good reasons. There are always good reasons. And this person, the volatility culminated in the very dramatic spilling of an entire bottle of red wine, and it was spectacular. It went everywhere. You couldn't have planned it. It was just amazing. It just went everywhere. Now, in the past, various family members, would have defaulted into various different self-regulatory behaviour. One person would have been rushing to this person and trying to appease them and help them clear up and tell them it will all be all right and be the peacemaker and try and soothe and calm and dampen things down. Never really worked. Another person would have got equally angry actually would have, caught that person's volatility and been just as angry and just as outraged that the social occasion was being ruined, and would try and maybe guilt that person into stopping their behaviour. Again, never worked, actually made it way worse. Anyway, I could go on. There are other, some people would, leave the room. All self-regulating behaviours, people doing whatever they need to do to manage the situation as best they can for themselves, and largely subconscious or semi-conscious or even totally unconscious. What we all decided to do without any discussion at all, because we were in the middle of having a lovely time, is we all as a group decided to almost completely ignore it, to be conscious of it, because everybody was, I could feel that, and to listen to the energy of that explosion reach a pitch that was almost laughable, actually. There was lots of blame going on. There was the table was to blame, the bottle of wine was to blame, there were promises made about never drinking red wine again, never using that table again, all of that kind of blind dysregulation, basically, when somebody is in that state of complete dysregulation where nothing is going to reach them. So therefore, there's actually no point in trying to do that. It's a waste of energy for everybody else. Anyhow, within, I would say, less than 5 minutes, because we'd all ignored it, it reached its pitch and we could feel it coming down. And the person who was doing that behaviour actually was then able to mop everything up, calm down, actually even laugh about, his behaviour. And everybody else was therefore invited to laugh too. He was welcomed back into the group, and we continued, and no judgments were made. It was done. It was done. The energy had dissipated. No harm done. Now, I know not all circumstances can be like that, but for me, it was a great example of lots of different types of self-regulation, because we all have different behaviours that we adopt in those situations or similar. And the fact that when we were able to actually stand back and allow that energy out, it reaches a peak and then it comes down again and it's done. And I don't know, I can't remember what that expression is about the child who does not feel welcomed or accepted by the village will return to that village and burn it down to feel its warmth, something like that. That acceptance by the group of, you can feel your feelings, you can do what you need to do, and we still love you, we still accept you. That kind of dynamic is what we're aiming for when we're really feeling consciously self-regulated. That ability to feel our feelings, no matter what they are, to because we're conscious of them, to be curious about why perhaps we are feeling those feelings in this situation with this trigger, to know that largely it's nothing to do with the trigger. Actually, that's just something, that's a label that our subconscious has put in place to enable us to go into that knee-jerk behaviour. And then we can make different choices. We can either go, well, do you know what, actually, the best thing for me to do here is actually for me to remove myself. Or the best thing for me to do is to deep breathe, or to laugh, or to, I don't know, whatever, twiddle my fingers, whatever it is. That's all the self-regulatory behavior that we can choose to help us manage feeling triggered, basically. And what I'm talking about is the more we do that, the more we practice that conscious self-regulation, the more it becomes just the way we are, because we're creatures of habit. We take these things on very quickly, actually. We will just be able to make those better choices habitually. And, though, the energy that set those patterns up in the first place and invites us to feel triggered dissipates. It just goes. It's the difference between, if you have an allergy, if you have hay fever, deciding, okay, it's this particular pollen or it's this particular grass. So I'll just avoid those for the rest of my life and I'll be grand. That means that your energy is going out in making sure that you don't get exposed to those triggers as much as you can. Whereas if you come for homeopathic treatment, for example, and you get to the root of why you're being triggered by that pollen or that grass or that person, then you just don't feel triggered anymore. And you can, have cats in your house, or you can go into fields, or you can go to social events around and be around people whose behaviour may not be, the same in the same value order as yours, may not be aligned to your way of being in the world. And you can not only manage yourself in that circumstance, but it doesn't trigger you anymore. It doesn't personally rob old wounds that you have, because those wounds have healed. And that is the difference, I think. So self-regulation, I regard as a kind of spectrum, if you like, that you start by becoming conscious. Oh yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. Oh, I wonder why I'm doing that. Could it be that it's what is the pattern? What are the triggers here? And then you move along and you adopt conscious behaviour that is perhaps less harmful to others, less harmful to you, less judgy, the effects don't last. It was interesting that actually in the past with that family event I talked about, the whole kind of party community vibe would have gone because everybody literally, energetically and literally would have gone in their separate directions and done their separate things. Whereas because we all chose not to do that, we were still all together and we were able to welcome that person back into the tribe. We stepped outside of it temporarily. We went, okay, let's have a look, let's bear witness, and you're done, great, come back in. That's what I'm inviting you to actually do in your own lives. So, and some of you I know do this, as regularly as you can. I'm aware that there are still patterns in my life that I need to, I'm feeling called to investigate and to see what I can do to transform the energy that I use in managing still feeling triggered. I think that's a lifelong thing. It gets easier and easier to actually get to the bottom of them and to transform that energy. So I'm going to invite you to actually just have a think about, maybe do some journaling, just noticing where in your life you may still be managing things rather than inviting a possible cure, if you like. It is the difference between management and cure. I'm cured. I don't have a problem anymore. It's not a problem for me anymore. I'm managing, I better just reserve some of my energy because I've got to manage those symptoms or those emotional triggers. I hope I'm being clear about the difference there. I'm not dismissing conscious self-regulation. Far from it. It's vital, absolutely vital stepping stone towards real freedom. That's what I'm really talking about, is the real freedom. So perhaps as we're emerging, and I know we're still all really in rest mode, many of us, but maybe when you're contemplating, when you're in your quiet moments, you can perhaps do some journaling or drawing or whatever helps your process to actually become aware of where in my life might I still be feeling triggered by something that's a pattern, and where might I be managing it maybe very well, but I'm spending energy doing that, and it would be lovely to be free of that and not feel triggered anymore. So if you do recognize something straight away, do pop a yes in the comments. It'd be lovely to just feel how many of you are resonating with this. And thank you very much for joining me. I hope that all makes sense. And of course, if you do want to talk about it further, then do book a one-to-one with me. It's free, the free call. So you can book a free clarity call using the link with this video. And let's see how we can help you, support you to be able to self-regulate at a much deeper level than you're already doing. Okay, thanks for watching. Take care.